up 2X chromosomes? This is Nick at BarBend.com with a video for the ladies on the best pre-workouts for women. The questions we need to answer in this video is why would you want to take a pre-workout, and also is there such a thing as a pre-workout for women? Like, do you really need different ingredients? Before I go on, I should make it clear, this is like for legal reasons, but also ethical and medical reasons. I'm not a doctor, right? So I'm not a medical professional. If you are going to make significant changes to your exercise or your dietary or your supplement regimen, you should speak to your own doctor before doing so. You know, you might have medications that interact with this or that. You might have prior conditions, I don't know, but let's start talking about the best pre-workouts. So when talking about the best pre-workouts, I'll give you guys a little peek behind the curtain here. The way this works is people ask us for recommendations for a wide variety of different kinds of pre-workouts. And a lot of the time the answer is the same product, right? So for example, the best pre-workout overall, the best value pre-workout, the best tasting pre-workout, and the best for endurance, it's all the same product in our opinion. Like, this product is really, really spectacular, and it is called Kaged. It's called Pre-Kaged, and the brand is called Kaged, right? The ingredients here are many, they are myriad, and also they all serve different purposes. So this is able to function as a best pre-workout in a really wide variety of situations. That's why we're such a really big fan of it. So to start off with, like, why it's the best overall, the answer is that it has various ingredients, all of which can assist different types of workouts. So for example, we mentioned endurance workouts because this is also like the best for endurance. There's the beta-alanine, which I mentioned earlier, which is very closely associated to its benefits for cardiovascular performance. But in addition to that, there is also beta-alanine anhydrous, which might sound a bit weird, but that's a natural component. It's found in beets and it's like some leafy greens as well. And what we've found in some research is that beta-alanine anhydrous can help with power. So while that does have applications to, like, say, squats and bench press, and there have been studies on those, that also just has a lot to do with like sprinting as well. So you may be aware that a lot of women do high intensity interval training, which is to say they do like sprints, jogs, because there's some research that's best for fat loss. This can help with that. So in that regard, it can help with that sort of endurance workout. And also with the beta-alanine, it can help with like longer term workouts as well. In addition to that, there are some branched chain amino acids in here. Branched chain amino acids are the ones most closely associated with what's called muscle protein synthesis. Basically, putting branched chain amino acids into a product, having it before your workout, there is some evidence that can help to keep you from losing muscle throughout the workout. And also it can help to kind of maintain energy a little bit throughout the workout as well. So all of these reasons are why we named this as the best pre-workout for endurance. The best pre-workout overall, I mean, there's also other ingredients in here that are interesting, like for focus, which can also help for endurance, to be honest. Like tyrosine and taurine. I know focus is kind of like a nebulous term, but with tyrosine, for instance, basically when you're having a very stressful, intense workout or a long-lasting workout, it's pretty easy for the brain to sort of run out of or run low on neurotransmitters that help you stay on task. Tyrosine might help you to produce more and thereby stay more focused during longer workouts. So that has applications for endurance as well. Other reasons why it's the best overall is, very interestingly, this contains vegetables. This is very strange for a pre-workout, but what this has what's called the Total ORAC blend from Spectra. And if you're familiar with green superfood powders, this is like a very common supplement out there. That's more on the multivitamin side of things. Greens powders are basically a way of delivering antioxidants and some other components depending on the brand. And the reason why that's been dropped into here is that a dose of antioxidants can help to potentially reduce inflammation or limit inflammation and thereby help with like recovery and just generally contribute to your overall health. There's also some creatine, there's also some citrulline, the mainstays in pre-workouts that I mentioned earlier. All of this is why it's a really well-rounded product. Whatever kind of workout you're doing, it can help contribute to it. And as a nice bonus, we think it's the best tasting pre-workout as well. There's Orange Crush, there's Crisp Apple, there's Berry Blast, there's like 7 different really tasty flavors, and it's also pretty inexpensive. So when you're trying to judge the cost of a pre-workout, it's a little bit difficult, but also a little bit simple in that there's a really wide variety of ingredients and dosages in different products in the industry, right? So for what this product has, we found it to be very good value. It's really potently dosed. There are a ton of pre-workouts that don't hit the doses of the ingredients that's suggested by the science. So while there are cheaper pre-workouts out there, As far as value for money and accurate and effective dosing, we found Pre-Kaged to be the best value. This is gonna cost about $2.25 a serving. One last thing I wanna say about Pre-Kaged though is that it is pretty high in caffeine. So as I mentioned earlier, your average cold brew, 160 milligrams of caffeine. One serving of this is gonna be 274 milligrams. If 274 milligrams of caffeine sounds very high to you, what you can do is just half the serving, like have half of a scoop here, half the serving, especially if you're a female athlete who tend to weigh less than male athletes, you're still gonna get effective doses of just about everything else. So I would encourage to get this guy. It's gonna be obviously half the cost per serving as well. If you're having half a scoop at a time, it's gonna last longer as well. Try that out, and then if you find that half a scoop isn't too much caffeine, and it shouldn't be if you drink coffee, then you can slowly build up if you feel like it. But it's really good value. It's got a really wide range of really well-dosed ingredients, and it's really freaking tasty. That's a lot I've said about Pre-Kaged, but we like it a lot, and I've consumed more than one tub of this in my lifetime. Let's talk about another product though, and this one is a good addition if you still don't like the idea of taking powdered caffeine. I've given a lot of reasons why it's actually fine, but if you don't want to, the runner-up for the best pre-workout, and also the best pre-workout without caffeine, is Swolverine's Pre. It actually is a really well-dosed and effective product, and if there's one takeaway you can take from this video, it's that powdered up caffeine and beta-alanine doesn't need to be gendered, right? Like, even though it has a name like that, it doesn't mean that it is just for guys or anything is just for girls. This is a solid product, and there's no caffeine in it at all. So as I mentioned, like a lot of times now, caffeine is usually the only stimulant you're gonna get in a pre-workout. There are some that have like yohimbe and stuff, but that's another story. Usually it's just caffeine. Take the caffeine out, you've got a bunch of ingredients that could very well improve your workout without like making you really wired and making it difficult to sleep late at night. If that's a concern for you, like if you have predispositions to insomnia or anxiety, that kind of stuff, Swolverine could be a very good pick. Here, I should probably say again that I'm not a doctor. You should talk to your doctor. But you know, if you have issues with caffeine, obviously getting a caffeine-free one should be an uncontroversial approach to your pre-workout nutrition. But there's still a lot of good stuff in here, right? I've already mentioned these ingredients before, but citrulline, beta-alanine, beta-ine, the one that comes from beets and might help with power and sprinting, that's in there as well. There's some taurine, which can also help with focus. And there's also Siberian ginseng, which is interesting. That type of ginseng, it's not really considered a stimulant. It's more like an adaptogen that can help to kind of combat fatigue in stressful situations, i.e. a workout, as opposed to being a stimulant. So most people should be able to take this product and have any issues sleeping. Some people might have trouble with ginseng and sleep, but there's a lot of research also saying that it helps you sleep. So it's kind of like, everyone's very individual here, and that's a really important thing to take away from that. I've found, honestly, if you're worried about weird ingredients in pre-workouts, Swolverine's is a really good option because, yeah, there's no caffeine here, everything's pretty well dosed, and to make things better, there's no artificial flavors or sweeteners or ingredients at all in this as well. There's a bit of splendor in Pre-Kaged. This one is all natural, it's sweetened with stevia. So a lot of women and a lot of people find Swolverine's pre-workout to be more approachable than other ones. So that's why this was our runner-up, and also definitely the best without caffeine as well. I've kind of said a lot about a lot of sciencey things in this video, so if it's getting to be a bit much, we have a written version of this article as well that you can check out. So if you want to go through this all at your own pace, really like read through everything we've said, you can check out the studies as well, because we cite all the studies for all the stuff that we're saying. If you want to do that, read the full written article. I definitely encourage you to Google it. Just go to Google, do BarBend best pre-workout for women, and this article will pop right up. For now, we got the best weight loss pre-workout. The best pre-workout for weight loss, which is also the best pre-workout for running in our opinion, is Transparent Labs Lean. This is a really interesting company. I like it a lot because Transparent Labs, there are a lot of pre-workouts and supplements in the industry that are not transparent, they're opaque. Like they will say they contain these ingredients, but they won't say how much of each ingredient they contain. And they do that under the guise of, we're trying to preserve our secret recipe so no one can copy it. Usually what it really means is that they want to include less than effective doses. Like 1 milligram of citrulline, like I mentioned earlier, that's not really gonna do anything. They'll do stuff like that, put in small amounts of stuff. It'll save money and you still get to put it on the label and say that you have it. Transparent Labs doesn't do that. Very transparent. And what's cool as well is if you go to the website, they'll not only say the precise amount of each ingredient, but they'll also link to studies for each of them saying why they put it in there and what study they're basing that on. So it's a very trustworthy brand. I really like Transparent Labs. Another potentially cool thing about Transparent Labs is there's no artificial flavors or sweeteners in this one either. So if you're someone who's looking to limit that kind of stuff, you'll be comfortable with this. Now, why is it the best for weight loss? Well, you might have noticed that it's called lean. Now, this is not a weight loss product. The number one most important thing if you're looking to lose weight is to eat fewer calories than you burn, right? Not way fewer, but the only way that a person can lose weight is if they work out how many calories they burn in a day and then consume a little bit less than that over a long period of time, right? If someone loses weight and they're not tracking their calories, it's because they are just happening to eat fewer calories than they burn. Whether it's like cutting out a food group or eating fewer meals or whatever, it's all about calories. So to get that out of the way, that's how you actually lose weight. But there are some products out there that contain ingredients that have some other interesting ways for potentially coaxing the body into like losing more fat and that sort of thing. So with Transparent Labs Lean, you might notice it's called Lean. The main reason for this being a good pre-workout for weight loss, in addition to it just being a very good pre-workout, meaning it'll probably let you work out harder, do more reps, get in more work, have more work capacity, run for longer than if you hadn't had it. So that makes it a good product if you're trying to lose weight. But also this contains L-carnitine, acetyl L-carnitine, HCI. And there's some interesting research suggesting that this can increase fat oxidation. So basically, the idea is that with acetyl L-carnitine, it can potentially coax the body into burning more fat than it would have otherwise. So generally we burn either stored up carbohydrates, glycogen, or stored up fat for energy when we're exercising. And L-carnitine, some research suggests that it can help more fat to be burned for energy. Like it can help to get it mobilized within the mitochondria. It's all a bit complicated, but the point here is research suggests fat oxidation may increase with carnitine. So that's why this is called lean, and that's why this is our best pre-workout for weight loss. For running, a very interesting reason why this is good for running, again, this does have all the general endurance-related pre-workout ingredients we've mentioned in other ones. Where this gets the edge though, where it's even better than other workouts that also have beta-alanine and beta-ine and citrulline, is that this contains two different types of caffeine. So you've got 180 milligrams of caffeine, which is not too much, like I mentioned before. That's less than a 16-ounce coffee from most coffee places. But there's also a small amount of what's called, the patented name is Infinergy. It's caffeine dimalate. What that means is the caffeine breaks down more slowly. So you will have the 180 milligrams of caffeine at the beginning of the workout, but there's also a portion of the caffeine that is going to break down more slowly. So what that does is, number one, the idea is for it to prevent a big energy spike and crash. It's meant to happen more gradually. And number two, because it digests more slowly, the effect of the caffeine is meant to last for longer. So if you're a big runner, the composition here of two different types of caffeine, while still not exceeding 220 milligrams total, that should indeed help to provide some more sustained energy over a longer period of time, especially when combined with other ingredients that are designed for endurance, like the branched chain amino acids and the beta-alanine. So very good product. Pretty tasty, best for runners and best for weight loss. Lastly, the best women's pre-workout for muscle gain. Huge supplements wrecked. The ingredients are very, very good if gaining muscle is your primary concern here. Gaining muscle, the most important thing is to consume more calories than you burn. That one is consuming more calories than you burn, not too much more. Make sure you're getting plenty of protein as well. That stuff's all quite complicated, but the calories is the most important part of gaining muscle. However, we really like this one for gaining muscle because it's very, very strongly dosed. If you're trying to gain muscle, you're eating plenty of calories and plenty of carbohydrates. So generally you can have more intense workouts and more longer lasting workouts, and a supplement like this can really help to give you the edge in that regard, right? So you're not low on calories, you're not low on carbohydrates, you're having a really good, full-bodied, nice workout. And these ones here, they're giving you 8 grams of citrulline. Most of these other ones are 5 or 6. You're getting 3.5 grams of beta-alanine. A lot of these just do 1.6 to 2 grams. And it sort of goes on like that. It's very well dosed for a particularly intense workout. In addition to that, there's other interesting ingredients like lion's mane mushroom powder, which is an adaptogen that can help the body to combat fatigue, but also there's some evidence it can help with cognitive function as well. Another thing I really like is there's a bit of sodium in this. A lot of athletes, including female athletes like Steffi Cohen, they swear by having a little bit of sodium before you work out. If you sweat, you're losing sodium. That's why your sweat is salty. And taking some sodium before a workout, there's a ton of evidence that can actually help with hydration and help with performance. So there's a bit of sodium in here, and again, like really good doses of everything else. There is quite a lot of caffeine in this though. There's a combination of caffeine and dicaffeine malate, like transparent labs, except that here, it totals 350 milligrams of caffeine. That is a lot of caffeine, but this is so well dosed. Like most of the ingredients really they exceed the clinically effective doses. They do that just to be safe, so no one has any doubt in their mind of getting a decent amount of citrulline and so on. But you, especially if you're on the lighter side, like under 200 pounds or under 180 pounds, having half a scoop of this will give you a pretty normal, like, coffee amount of caffeine, and you'll still have pretty effective doses of everything else as well. So it's a really good one. And that's our list of the best pre-workouts for women. The list ends here. I also, before I go, just wanted to address some really common questions that we get about pre-workouts. So let's start with, what is a pre-workout, right? A 12-ounce cold brew from Starbucks is 155 milligrams of caffeine, right? The average pre-workout that I've seen is maybe 180 milligrams, 200 milligrams of caffeine. So that's probably gonna be less than a 16-ounce cold brew, you know? So the caffeine isn't actually always unbelievably high. In some models they are, and we're trying to not mention those, the ones that are more ideal for people with very large body weights that are better able to process that sort of stuff. For female athletes who tend to be on the lighter side, the caffeine content, it's not going to be as high as you might imagine. It's not like you're drinking like 10 cups of coffee worth of caffeine. They actually tend to be a bit more measured than that. The other question is, why take a pre-workout instead of a cup of coffee? And the answer to that is there are several ingredients out there that actually are not stimulants, but they still work as ergogenic aids, which means they can potentially help to improve performance in workouts. So in addition to caffeine, which does indeed have really specific applications to sports performance, like not just more endurance, but also like more focus, more like a better reaction time, faster working memory, this sort of stuff. All that stuff can be very useful in a variety of different sports contexts. But in addition to that, you'll often find ingredients, I'll give you a couple of common ones. Beta-alanine is a really common one. The dosages are usually 1.6 to 3.5 grams. And what beta-alanine has links to is endurance. The best known study on beta-alanine showed an improvement of 2.85% in endurance athletes. And if you're an elite athlete, a 3% improvement is actually very, very significant. It's not so crazy like a 5,000% increase. Like these aren't really, really dramatic, overwhelming ingredients again. But with beta-alanine, studies have shown if you're doing strength training in like the 10 to 20 rep range, or if you're doing bursts of cardiovascular activity like running or sprinting in the like 1 to 3 minute range, yeah, you can see a minor but significant improvement taking a bit of beta-alanine, and it's not a stimulant. Another common ingredient is citrulline. So citrulline is most closely associated with blood flow. It's a natural ingredient. It's an amino acid that's very common in watermelon actually. Citrulline has links to blood flow, also called vasodilation. And so because of that, because more blood is able to flow through your veins and your vessels, that means that more oxygen can get to the muscles, and that can potentially improve endurance and also power output as well. So there have been studies on cyclists and on tennis players. Like we're not just talking about like people who are maxing their deadlift, right? People who are doing cycling, tennis, that sort of stuff. There have been some research to suggest that taking like 5 or so grams of citrulline can help to improve performance a little bit there as well. And again, it's not a stimulant. Another one is creatine. You'll often find creatine does have the association with making muscles look a little bit bigger aesthetically. But also there's a lot of research suggesting it can help with power output. So in the lower rep ranges, like say you're doing like 1 to 3 reps of a certain exercise, creatine can help to improve power output. There are some studies showing like 10, maybe more than 10% increase in performance when taking creatine. So those are 3 common ingredients that are not stimulants, but they can have some effects on your workout. So those are some of the reasons why a pre-workout may have the edge on just a normal cup of coffee in certain instances. One is, when should I take it? And the answer to that is basically half an hour before you work out should be just fine. If you have a really full stomach, it'll take a long time to digest. And also, workouts aren't super fun on a really full stomach. So ideally, you won't have eaten for a good hour, and you'll have your pre-workout, and about a half hour later, things should start to kick in. Another really important thing to note about timing though is that pre-workouts are a supplement to help you have an effective workout. Supplements mean it's just a supplement. It's a small part of the overall plan. The overall plan is your total diet, your total nutrition, your total approach to food. So you don't want to be in a really big calorie deficit. A lot of people kind of wind up in a big calorie deficit because they want to lose fat and look better in the swimsuit, that kind of thing. But going too far in a calorie deficit and too low in carbohydrates and too low in protein and too low in fat, any of those, especially all of those, will lead to you having just a crummy day, probably having nutrient deficiencies, and also not having effective workouts at all. I've had multiple PhDs on this topic talk to me about pre-workout nutrition, and they all say, don't forget carbohydrates. Like have a meal, like eat regularly, eat throughout the day, and having a good amount of protein and carbs in like 1 to 3 hours before you work out, that's going to play like a very significant role in having a useful workout. And also just like getting the most out of your workout, and also not being miserable all the time. Don't just not eat or eat very, very little. Make sure you're getting your carbohydrates and make sure you're getting your protein as well, beyond the pre-workouts you're consuming. There are other things to consider as well. I touched on this earlier. If caffeine tends to wig you out, or if you have like issues with anxiety or insomnia, that kind of stuff, there's a good chance that the caffeinated pre-workouts might not be for you. Fortunately, there are uncaffeinated pre-workouts that you can get, like Swolverines, that will help to eliminate that as a problem. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's good to talk to a medical professional, just in case you have any pre-existing conditions, that kind of stuff that might interfere with any of these ingredients. Interestingly, most of these ingredients don't have to be taken pre-workout. The caffeine kind of does. The caffeine like comes on and has an effect. But everything else, like the creatine, beta-alanine, the citrulline, the beta-alanine, the studies on these ingredients are people kind of taking it at any time throughout the day or a few times throughout the day. Like it's more about building up these ingredients in your body, like in your system. So it's like kind of running around your blood system and that sort of stuff. It's more about it being in your body than taking it right before a workout and then it like peaking and kicking in. So you can take it before a workout and that's totally fine. But actually, if you're not taking caffeine, you can take beta-alanine, beta-alanine, citrulline, this kind of stuff. You can kind of take it anytime. It's helpful just to kind of take it before a workout, just because then you don't have to think about it in the morning or anything. But technically, timing doesn't really apply to most of these ingredients. It's mostly the caffeine, maybe a couple other ones. The last thing, if I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, I don't really remember, but beta-alanine, unbelievably common as a pre-workout ingredient. You should know that it typically produces a tingling sensation on the skin. It's very temporary, it just kind of happens for a little bit. It's completely harmless, it's something to worry about. Some people don't like it. So if you take a pre-workout with beta-alanine in it, that has interesting applications for cardio and endurance and everything like that. Just expect the tingliness, and if you hate it, don't take it again. So that's it. That's our list, the best women's pre-workouts. Pretty confident in that list. If you've got pre-workouts you like yourself, let us know in the comments. And also, again, if you want to find the full written article of this, you can just Google BarBend best pre-workouts for women, and it'll come up, and you can just read it at your own pace. Otherwise, that's it. That's it for me. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.